Good evening, everybody. This is the third attempt at the broadcast tonight. The device that I'm currently broadcasting on was the device that didn't work to start with. It's now working. The device that I transferred to stopped working. So, never mind. Forget the last two shows which have been uploaded to YouTube probably by now, and just concentrate on this one. This is the real show. The other two were just disasters. However, I do seem to have this problem a lot. Last Friday, I was going to be with Jerry Marzinski doing a live stream on YouTube and, of course, more importantly, on windowsontheworld.net with Jerry Marzinski. The presence of other worlds. We were going to be talking about interdimensional negative entities and things which actually affect a large number of people, and large numbers of people do have negative entities and voices which are a problem to them. This can be called paranoid schizophrenia, and Jerry has been a licensed psychiatric practitioner for 35 years. He's now retired. We've done some remarkable shows on this subject, and we were going to have a special guest last Friday, but it's going to be this Friday. So this Friday coming, we will be looking at the presence of other worlds, and we have a fascinating show. What happened last week was that we got the times mixed up. Jerry actually got the times mixed up, but I went along with it. So he said, well, I screwed it up and you went along with it, which was quite fair, really, because we reconvened at the wrong time. So when I was live, Jerry wasn't there. And later in the evening, much later, in fact, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, Jerry came online and we actually got the person who we were going to have on as a guest. So we've primed everything for next Friday. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be fascinating, and this is groundbreaking stuff. But it is COVID panto season. Just to let you know about the weekly shows, I have been doing Monday to Friday on Republic Broadcasting Network out of Texas, Austin, Texas. And I've been on there basically since the lockdown started. It's been brilliant. I never wanted to be a radio host and just do interviews every day. It's not my thing. I want to be researching, bringing you real good information. And that is what I think the shows actually achieve. And the shows we've done on RBN, I'm very pleased with them. And every single one of them has been packed full of information. And also, I think they're quite fun as well. We get great callers to the subject of the show, and often not the subject of the show, which is a bit like our chat room. Our chat room's like that. And I've had 2 attempts at getting this show out, and it's actually been a real headache, because I got back from Somerset to my secret location, and it's so relaxing down here. I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll do a really laid back show. I got everything ready, made myself a cup of tea. None of it worked. Got my secondary device out. That started broadcasting. Then the microphone jammed up on that. Go back to my first device. This now works. Work that out for yourself. I'm not saying there's a great conspiracy against me, but I am getting a bit paranoid. Okay, so let's carry on with the show. Yes. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I will be on RBN. I'm cutting down from Monday to Friday to Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. UK time, which is 2 p.m. Central Time. And on Tuesday, I have special guest Johnny O'Neill from the Gaslighting Gilligan blog. And we're going to be talking about gaslighting. It's basically when you are being lied to and you are being abused. So look up gaslighting. It was a film that was made in the 1940s, and the term actually came from that. It was when an abusive partner decided to drive the partner mad. So the abuser drives the partner mad by turning down the gaslight and stating that it's normal. That's strange, isn't it? Because isn't that what's happening with the media? The media are gaslighting the public, telling them things which are not true and gaslighting them. Yeah, look it up, gaslighting. That's exactly what they're doing. So on Thursday, I've got Jim McComiskey, who wrote the book The Ultimate conspiracy, the biomedical paradigm, all about what viruses are and what they aren't. Jim has just written to the National Virus Research Laboratory Centre in Dublin through University College, and he's done the same in London. And the answer has come back that COVID-19, there is no evidence that it has been found, isolated, purified or measured. That's what they're saying. They don't have that information, and they should have that information, but basically they're obfuscating and they're gaslighting. So yeah, that's all coming up Tuesday and Thursday. On Friday I'll be with Jerry Marzinski, an extra special guest at 9:30 p.m. So do go to windowsontheworld.net and check that out. Okay, now we reported last week that Buddy the dog was the first dog to test positive for COVID-19, and he's died of cancer. But with COVID, you see, it affects animals as well. This is what they're going to try and do. They're trying to get this zoonotic disease paradigm into the public and create a paradigm shift away from nature. In other words, stop taking your dog for a walk. Stop touching animals. Stop going into the country. Don't interact with countryside animals because they could be carrying zoonotic diseases, which could give you COVID-19 or something much worse. But the communitarian media media propaganda outlets are about the only thing psychological Operation COVID has left. This is ironic, as the whole exercise has been media-driven. The logical fallacies and blatant lies just carry on, though. Every day sees new contradictory claims. Stop going to pubs so children can go back to school. You know it makes sense. How can your children go back to school if you're in the pub? You see, it does make sense. Go out and don't go out. Mandatory means not mandatory. Well, since the panto season started early, a few months back, nothing has really changed. Supermarkets do not force you to wear a mask. Neither does any other place I've visited. I haven't worn a mask so far, not because I'm full of hate and I'm trying to spread the virus, because I know it's bollocks. Okay, so I was sent videos of overzealous, useful idiots giving the public incorrect legal advice, which would actually go against company policy, as the stores are liable for damages if they give you a mask to wear, you put it on, you keel over, or you get an anxiety attack. The store is going to be sued because they made you wear it. So that's why stores won't say anything. I've been to Aldi, I've been to Tesco, I've been to B&Q, all these really exciting places. And guess what? No one says a bloody thing. You can carry on as normal. So really, the gaslighting is coming through the media. The gaslighting, the psychological abuse and the downright lies are all coming out of the television set. And of course the radio, but not this station. Yes, the COVID pass, though, is on the horizon. And the second wave will be the one to watch for. Which makes one ask, what sort of people are going along with it? Well, the people who are going along with it are the ones the financial elite want to get rid of first. So it does make sense. As the Soviet defector Yuri Bezmenov says, those that enforce these agendas and think they're coming to power are the first to be sacrificed. Now, though, latest news just in. Visiting museums and bowling alleys is a mask-wearing exercise. The divide and rule strategy being imposed is what is known as the new normal. So the new normal is psychological abuse. Some of the media whores, though, are excelling and also exceeding themselves in virtue signalling. Now, this is from the UK Guardian. The headline is, "You're already wearing a mask. Now, consider a face shield and goggles." This is by someone called Adrienne Matai, who would actually make a very good NSL traffic warden or civil enforcement officer, because they do like to exercise opinions which are not only banal and untrue, but also very dangerous to human health, mental health that is. It says, for better protection, you may need to look a little weird look a little weird, and shield your peepers. So I think that gives you an indication of the sort of idiot that we're dealing with here, when that is the opening to their article in the UK Guardian. It says the question remains, if goggles are useful in the battle against COVID, why are we only talking about them now? Well, actually, we weren't until you brought it up. It says, at first, wearing a face mask felt a bit strange. Now, over 5 months into North America's battle with COVID-19, I feel naked in public without one. This is the sort of order-following, brainless dimwit who should work for the Guardian. And newsflash, they do. It says, will goggles, previously the purview of steampunks and snowboarders? This is a retarded, dangerous idiot. In fact, it's like somebody who you see wearing goggles, a visor and a mask. Oh, it's the same person. It says, previously the purview of steampunks and snowboarders, yawn. Will this become the next article of protective equipment to go from weird to widespread? Only if arseholes like you are involved, unfortunately. It says, according to Dr. Anthony Fauci, the answer is yes. Well, it would be according to him, wouldn't it? In an ABC Instagram live Q&A this Wednesday, Fauci told viewers, if you have goggles or an eye shield, you should use it. On Thursday, Dr. Deborah Birx, the White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator... I'm going to read that out again because it's bloody hilarious. The White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator echoed Fauci's statement during a Fox and Friends interview, saying eye protection decreases the ability for wearers to touch their eyes and spread the virus, as well as those droplets coming towards them. Have you got droplets coming towards you? Well, you need a visor then. Isn't it great to have so many experts around, though, eh? I mean, all these experts, we've never had so many experts, have we? Experts say, experts agree, survey after survey suggests, scientists say. I wonder who these people actually are. Well, we've researched them, and most of them don't know what the bloody hell they're talking about. It says, like your nose and mouth, your eyes are mucosal surfaces. They're doing that to make it sound scientific, you see. But it's just banal. It says permeable areas of the body that are vulnerable to infection. Research from Johns Hopkins University. Wait a minute. Lobbyist alert. New World Order, global governance sympathisers, global governance enforcers, Johns Hopkins University. It's a bit like Imperial College. It's a bit like the World Economic Forum. It's a bit like Bill and Melinda Gates. It's a bit like the UN. It's a bit like Dr. Tedros. Yes, bullshit alert. Has found that COVID-19 specifically can be contracted via the eyes through exposure to aerosolized droplets or hand-to-eye contact. I've heard of hand-to-hand combat, but not hand-to-eye contact. Yeah, that's just rubbing your eye. I mean, the worst thing I've ever done in regard to that is rubbing chilies into my eyes. And I've done it several times because I cut the chilies up and then I rub my eyes. And it's such a stupid thing. But it's actually very good. It's very purifying, you see. It probably gets rid of COVID, so I'll keep on doing it. It says, however, the virus does not appear to spread through tears or ocular tissue, meaning goggles protect the wearer, not the people around them. You still need a mask for that. Now, do these people deserve to die? Do they? Do you think so? I'm just wondering, you see. Well, they are failing the livability test in massive numbers, aren't they, really? He says neither Fauci nor the CDC, that's the Centre for Disease Control, has officially recommended protective eyewear for the general public. Yeah, so this idiot has jumped in, made a stupid and massive statement here, which is not even backed up by the people that they are alleging it's backed up by. Now, this is the height of retardation. No, it's the UK Guardian. It's the intelligence services doing what they do best. Yeah, I'm just going to read that again. Neither Fauci nor the CDC has officially recommended protective eyewear for the general public yet. Oh, my God. It follows that if you want to err on the side of caution and achieve what Fauci calls perfect protection, the covering of all your mucosal surfaces in public spaces. You need to shield your peepers, and no regular contact lenses and glasses don't work. I checked, says this absolute banal traffic warden stroke civil enforcement officer material goon that is writing crap in The Guardian. It says, wearing goggles to the grocery store may seem extreme. No, it makes you look like a retard, which is what you are. But choosing to do so ultimately amounts to investing in a bit of extra prevention. Yeah, a bit of extra prevention from reality, certainly. The question remains, if goggles are useful in the battle against COVID-19, why are we only talking about them now? Oh, you see, the thing is that some of this could have sunk in, that no, even Fauci isn't recommending them, and why are they just being recommended now by people who don't know what they're talking about when it's all over? They can't really put two and two together, these new journalists, can they? I think it's the way they're trained. If you look at how they're trained, look at people like the Siegfried Rousing Trust. She also gave 600-odd grand to Hope Not Hate, who've attacked me and my show in a very comedic way, because it actually got us a load more listeners. So thanks a lot, Hope Not Hate. I'll keep spreading hate. Not really. We're spreading hope. They're spreading hate. And they're not very good at it either. But a question which the mental midget who put together this pathetic, rambling drivel fails to adequately explain is the above. If goggles are useful in the battle against COVID-19, why are we only talking about them now? Unreal, isn't it? They've actually printed that. No, it's not what they were thinking. They printed it. OK, let's get on to the Daily Mail now. Anti-social distancing. Fights break out on Brighton seafront as drinkers flout COVID rules, while Cornwall Council slams ignorant tourists refusing to wear masks amid mass influx of tourists. This is a headline, allegedly. Now, the point is here that the divide and rule strategy is going right into the communitarian principle. In other words, you get the public to attack each other, and the beach is the new battleground. Meanwhile, Cornwall Live, this is this communitarian rag, which I don't think anybody reads, but it's owned by Reach PLC, which runs the Express and the Mirror, and there's one for every region in the country. I've been libelled in it. Other people have been libelled in it. Groups have been libelled in it. They'll libel anybody because they do it under a thing called qualified privilege. Well, when I found out what qualified privilege meant, they didn't have it. So do bear that in mind, because what these newspapers do, these online rags, is they are there to demonise anyone outside the controlled narrative of public opinion, like they did with the 5G awareness group down in Glastonbury, when we actually got the police round someone's house, and the video I made, which the newspaper and the police had alleged on the back of a false claim that some people had hurled abuse at sea cadets. Find it on windowsontheworld.net. It says 5G protesters hurl abuse at sea cadets. Absolute flat out lie. And we caught them at it. So whoever told the police that is a liar. Someone who connected to Glastonbury Council, because they're all liars as well. Oh, isn't that unusual? A bunch of liars working for a town council or a city council. I've never heard of such a thing, have you? It says, meanwhile, though, Cornwall Live reports that glass has been buried in the sand to cut the feet of the infidels. Well, I put the infidels bit in because I thought it sounded a bit more kind of dramatic. These people who were going to the beach, though, they're so full of hate, they're going to the beach for the day. Can you imagine being so full of hate that you go to the beach all day? Why are they being so selfish? The strategy now seems to depend more and more on the public policing each other, which is the communitarian ideal. The Live group are always putting out propaganda stories to keep the haters hated, you see. Their stories are always about divide and rule and naming and shaming, and they don't care who they name and shame. They will stoop to any level, and they have done. All these little newspapers now are the same. I don't think anyone actually reads them, though, because they have to have so much advertising on, and you have to close all these boxes, all these pop-ups come up. The stories aren't worth reading, they're badly written, and I don't think there are any editors left, because there's often spelling mistakes and typos. These people are retards, they're not journalists. It says, but they actually libel members of the public in their Stasi hate mags. It's debatable, though, whether anyone actually reads it, and that is the main point I was trying to make there. This is from Cornwall Live. Broken glass deliberately placed on beach as coasts across Cornwall are plagued by litter. You see what they're doing here? They're trying to get the beaches shut down so that people can't go to the beach, because they're now saying, oh yeah, there was thousands of people on the beach, so we'll use a photograph of the beach when it was crowded, put it in the newspaper and say it's now. They've already been caught doing that in Bournemouth, haven't they? It says, this is from some useful idiot who's reported to the Stasi. And it says, the glass was broken, half buried, so that the sharp bits faced upwards to cut feet. Well, how would she know that? How did she know it was not just half a broken bottle that had been stuck in the sand, you know? It says, a woman has shared a warning after she claims to have found broken glass intentionally arranged on a Cornish beach. Well, there are some idiots who would do things like that, aren't there? I mean, small-minded, xenophobes. Are there any small-minded xenophobes out there? Yes, because in Wales, they weren't letting anybody in, and a lot of these newspapers that were coming out of Wales, the Live Group, they're basically winding up the public so that they demonise anyone who wants to go there on holiday. Well, that's a very clever thing to do, isn't it, for a place that's dependent on tourism? Talk about shooting yourself in the foot. Well, it doesn't matter, you see, because it's all about hate. We can't be promoting hate. People who go out and want to go to the beach are obviously full of hate. They probably voted Brexit. They must support Trump, and they probably think that Elvis lives on the dark side of the moon. But they're doing a good job. Good job. Won't happen. Won't happen. Good job. Okay, moving on. It's Harry Winfield. Oh dear. Harry Winfield raised the alarm after becoming concerned by litter problems at Summerlees Beach in Bude. She said, Summerlees Beach in Bude this morning, there are 12 bins, only one recycling bin provided out of 12. Oh, we can see what this is about now. It's not actually about the rubbish then, is it? It's about the recycling agenda. I see. I wonder if she's a useful idiot. I wonder if Harry Winfield is a useful idiot already. I think she might be. All of them stuffed with typical convenience items. I mean, what's this got to do with people going to the beach? All of them stuffed with typical convenience items. Plastic bottles, cans, glass bottles, disposable barbecues. Oh, disposable barbecues, they're full of hate, aren't they? You're not allowed to have them, because wasn't it a false flag that one of them was set alight and left there to burn after the burgers had been eaten? Yes, it says here, it can all be recycled, but will all go into landfill. Well, we know it goes to landfill. So what they're trying to say, it says overflowing and rubbish all over the wall and the ground and all around it. Loads of rubbish on the beach too, with things like broken glass left intentionally in the sand, buried with the sharp pieces pointed up. How did she know that? I've never known such a rubbish problem. All the years I've lived here, definitely caused by the tourists, oh here we go, is the xenophobia, but also exacerbated by the council's lack of recycling and rubbish. It's all about bloody recycling. This is just some green Stasi Nazi. I bet she's a cyclist. I'm sure other beaches in Cornwall are suffering similarly. Well, haven't you found out? Haven't you been sticking your rather fucking oversized nose in? Oh, excuse me, don't usually swear. Of the broken glass, she added, the glass was broken, half buried, so that the sharp bits faced upwards to cut feet. This is the same article. It keeps repeating itself, going on and on and on. It was 100% intentional. How does she know that? How does she know it was 100% intentional? If you saw it, you would understand, she said. Broken glass doesn't just lie like that. It's been put there intentionally. To be honest, the whole beach is a bit of a state. I've been finding all sorts of things left on the actual beach itself when we clear up in the morning. Has this person got nothing better to do? No, I don't think so. It appears that this is a green Stasi Nazi fascist who probably says that anyone who goes to the beach thinks Elvis lives on the dark side of the moon. It says here, oh yeah, the police have said they can't stop normal things happening. Basically, they can't. This is what I've been seeing and reading in all the media. The police say they can't stop any of this, right? So they're relying on the public to police each other in the COVID pantomime. The police have said they can't stop normal things happening or enforce muzzles. Okay? So it says, so we need something like the Dangerous Dogs Act, really, don't we? You know, like the Dangerous Dogs Act, to make sure everyone's muzzled in public. You know, especially all the haters, all the people who don't want to be muzzled, who are going to go around biting members of the public if they don't have masks on. The whole surreal experience is not only a heap of contradictions, but the most obvious social engineering experiment since the Skinner box. Think about that. Just think about that and have a look at what a Skinner box is. Get them to attack each other. We will just use basic emotional triggers and they will act accordingly. That's what it's all about. Meanwhile, though, a sociology professor has actually suffered an attack of rare cognitive ability. I'm not joking, this is a true story. Sociology professor calls for a sense of proportion. This is from the Daily Mail. A sociology professor calling for a sense of proportion, never heard such a thing, have you, as he brands COVID-19 a nasty infection that simply brought deaths forward by a few weeks. Professor Robert Dingwall says 80% coronavirus victims had conditions. Well, they do, don't they? They die with it, not of it. In fact, it's getting a bit scary. I would advise nobody to go near a hospital unless you have to. And the people who need to go to hospitals aren't allowed in, are they? He says the last 6 months of the virus show that it will not wipe out human life. Well, I think that's a fairly kind of measured and thoughtful take on it, isn't it, really? He said 45,000 people in the UK are thought to have died so far and 685,000 worldwide, but they don't say of what. What do you mean they are thought to have died? Wait a minute. I'm just looking at this. 45,000 people in the UK are thought to have died. What do you mean there's no evidence? But this was written by James Robinson from Mail Online. Robert Dingwall, Professor of Sociology at Nottingham Trent University, says there needs to be a sense of proportion with coronavirus. Why is this hate-filled professor allowed to have an opinion? Why hasn't he been deplatformed? Get Hope Not Hate to call him a conspiracy theorist quick. You know what he's thinking, don't you? He's thinking that the moon landings didn't happen. And you know where that leads, don't you, according to Hope Not Hate? If you question the moon landings, it only ends up in one place. And do you know where that is? It ends up in far-right extremism and radicalisation. So be careful. If you question the moon landings, you're going to end up as a right-wing hater. And Hope Not Hate are going to be on your case. Robert Dingwall, Professor of Sociology at Nottingham Trent University, in a rare outburst of common sense there. No, we can't have that, though. Panic. Bury glass in the sand. Start fights. Do anything. But make it irrational and make it angry. Yes, the leading sociological professor has today called for calm over COVID-19 as he branded the virus just a nasty infection. Yeah. Writing a column in the Daily Express today, he said COVID-19 has been linked to about 50,000 deaths in the first 16 weeks of the UK pandemic, but about 1,000 people normally die every week. Or maybe they just die normally. In the past 5 weeks, fewer than usual have died, he says. Well, that's because it's tailed off into nothing, really, isn't it? COVID-19 simply brought deaths forward a few weeks or months, yeah. I suppose he voted Brexit, supports Trump and thinks that Elvis lives on the far side of the moon. Yes, he probably does. Let's go now to the Daily Mail. Antisocial distancing. Fights break out on Brighton seafront as drinkers flout COVID rules, while Cornwall Council slams ignorant tourists refusing to wear masks amid influx of tourists. But any increases in COVID cases yet? Has the non-wearing of masks on beaches actually increased numbers of cases of COVID in the local hospital? Has it? I don't think there's any evidence of that so far. But only if they get taken to hospital with glass in their feet, you see. Because that's what's going to happen, isn't it? The only people going to hospital will have that glass that Amy Wingfield, or whatever her name was, has found on the beach. All very suspect, that, isn't it? Finding glass on the beach. How did she manage to find that if it was buried? Conspiracy theory. Okay, the communitarian rag known as the Live publication is full of this sort of stuff. Meanwhile, let's now go to Devon Live for a bit of light relief. A little bit of light relief. This is from Devon Live. Again, owned by Reach PLC, the Mirror and the Express Group. They own this local Stasi online magazine, which I don't think anybody reads. But this is comedy gold, but not for the person who was accused and charged. A homeless man who asked a friend to cut his unruly hair after months of lockdown has been jailed under strict anti-knife laws. Gareth Preston took a pair of scissors out into the street from the hostel where he was living in Exeter to get a trim. But passers-by call the police when they saw him waving them around. So he's gone out in the street. Will anyone cut me hair? And they've called the police. He and his friend had both been drinking, and instead of getting his hair cut, they appeared to get into an altercation. Preston received a mandatory jail sentence at Exeter Crown Court because he has 2 previous convictions for having weapons in public. He was also in breach of 2 community orders for walk-in burglaries. Walk-in burglary? What's a walk-in burglary? Does that mean someone just left the door open and you went in? At an arts centre. A walk-in burglary at an arts centre. Well, arts centres usually open, aren't they? You mean he stole something out of an arts centre? Is that what they mean? And a nightclub. And for shoplifting. So these are heinous crimes he's committed, apart from waving his scissors about in public. But did you know that according to the Dictionary of Jurisprudence, that burglaries can only happen between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning? Did you know that? The definition of a burglary is that it happens after 9 p.m. and before 6 in the morning. Could this be the reason why the police never turn up, I wonder? Have a think about it, because maybe they're legally not required to. Because it's not actually a burglary if it's outside those times. He was sentenced, though, this fella, for 10 months in prison, and the judge stated, in summing up, "You were out on the streets of Exeter, having had some drink, and were seen on CCTV taking the scissors out of your pocket. It is suggested the reason was that you were going for a haircut, but eventually the scissors were displayed in circumstances capable of causing alarm to the public." This is getting a bit scary now, isn't it? A bit creepy. "This was in the middle of the afternoon in the centre of Exeter." So if you're in the centre of Exeter and you have a Swiss Army knife, don't take it out of your pocket. You might end up with 10 months inside. OK, let's get on to something from Sky News. Millions of over 50s could be told to stay at home under a nuclear option to prevent a new nationwide lockdown if there is a second wave of coronavirus. Boris Johnson is reportedly considering asking a greater number of people in England to take part in the shielding programme should there be a big spike in coronavirus cases. Well, it's been apparent since the start of the COVID panto season that anyone who takes any notice of this bullshitter Boris Johnson should be treated with the contempt they deserve. But it says here, a Sunday Times report said people aged between 50 and 70 could be given personalised risk ratings, taking into account factors such as age and medical conditions. Well, only if you agree to it. Only if you bother actually signing up for it or taking any notice of it. So the slippery slope starts when you listen to the fake media and watch the television, really, doesn't it? It says 2.2 million were deemed most vulnerable and asked to shield themselves from society. Well, I've been shielding myself from society for 30 years and it's never done me any harm. During the spring peak of the virus. Advice that ended on Saturday. What do you mean advice that ended on Saturday? It says as part of a strategy to tackle a potential second wave of coronavirus in the future, the Prime Minister is also reportedly considering lockdown conditions for London. Ideas include giving Londoners stay-at-home orders, restricting travel beyond the M25 and banning people from staying in other people's homes. Well, councils have been trying to do this for years, you know. They were trying to actually make you tell the council if you stayed at someone's house for more than 2 days. I mean, why would you do a thing like that? It says it's similar to policies implemented in local lockdowns imposed in Leicester and parts of the northwest of England. Measures to prevent a second nationwide lockdown and any economic fallout were discussed by Mr. Johnson at what was described by sources as a war game session with Chancellor Rishi Sunak on Wednesday. Oh, dear. On a brighter note, though, and before any second wave propaganda, nothing has actually changed that much if you don't listen to the TV. You don't have to wear a mask in supermarkets or most shops, and if they start on you, just go elsewhere. You can go where you want and no one will stop you. You can drive wherever you want. The police aren't going to stop you. No one's going to stop you doing what you want to do. So be irresponsible, be full of hate, and just go out, enjoy yourselves, because there's a second wave coming. And the only way that this is really going to happen, and there is going to be a real lockdown, is the second wave. And we know that that's got to be the most likely option. And we've been talking about that for a long time, so I'm not going to keep reiterating that one. But the police have already said they can't enforce the panto rules in panto season. So in many ways, it's up to the public. And that is the problem. Keeping away from the mind virus. The mind virus is the most important thing. That is what COVID-19 is all about. A mind virus. And the mind virus is the only real danger. So on that note, I'm going to sign off. Please join us on Tuesday and Thursday at Republic Broadcasting Network. And that's at 8 p.m. UK time. I'm looking forward to Friday for our groundbreaking show with Jerry Marzinski and our special guest. Thanks for supporting us, those that do. And if you'd like to be involved in our project, The Heretics of London, the Smithfield Martyrs, you can help us on Patreon or PayPal, and it does help to keep the show going. So that's it for tonight. It's been another amazingly kind of dramatic way of getting on air. 2 devices going down, then the first device working later on. So at least I now know that everything does work. And on that note, thanks everybody and good night.